Hebrews. This is Prophets of Evening. This is our reading through the Tanak night, the 4th of October, 2023. I'll be dealing with the book of Enoch, reading out of chapter 92. Um, you can go to our YouTube channel, check out Prophets of Awakening, and check out our videos. We have a lot of videos, a lot of information given in the videos. And if you like what you're getting and receiving from the videos, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay. So with that being said, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanak and the Torah. Tanak being the Old Testament, and the Torah being the first 5 books of the Old Testament. The so-called books of Book of Remember. Okay. Yeah. So shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our reading through the Tanakh, which is Old Testament, and those books that are affiliated with it. Okay. So we're going to do our moment of silence, a prayer, psalms, deal with some current events, a little need-to-know information, and then we'll go into our Q&A, and then we'll go into our topic, which is we'll be reading out the book of Enoch. Okay. It's a moment of silence for the Lord of hosts, our Redeemer, and Yahweh, our Creator, and all that they're doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these final days. Oh Lord, we thank you for your great mercy and for your great power and wisdom. We tarry and waiting for your powerful deliverance of your people Israel. Oh Lord, you have given us insight into the scriptures of our forefathers, and you, O Lord, has directed us to who you are and your role in the going on of heaven and earth. Oh Lord, you spoke through your prophet Isaiah, and you said that you would help Abraham's seed, and that you have scattered. You have completed that task as of this day. And you said, O Lord, that you would remove the darkness from around us. Carrying out, O Lord, for our latter days are here. We are waiting and watching for you. Peace be unto you. Okay. 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 So with that being said, I'm gonna read a song right quick. I'm gonna read Psalms 113. It's God's mercies are many. Praise ye the Lord. Praise, O ye servants of the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name of the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. The Lord is high above all nations, and his glory above the heavens. Who is likened unto the Lord our God, who dwelleth on high, who humbleth himself to behold the things that are in heaven and in the earth. He raises up the poor out of the dust, and lifts up the needy out of the dunghill, that he may set him with princes, even princes of his people. He maketh the barren women to keep house, and to be joyful mothers of children. Praise ye the Lord. Okay. So there was Psalms 119, Psalms 113. God's mercies are many. Anybody have any comments on that? Okay. No comments. We're gonna go to our current event. Okay.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new, I hope that you consider subscribing to my channels on YouTube and Rumble, and follow me on Substack for more weekly content. A record $870 billion left U.S. banks since the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates. Think about it. The Fed's first rate hike was in March of 2022, so over a span of just 18 months, U.S. banks have been losing billions of dollars. They lost about $73 billion in deposits every single month on an average. This has never happened before in the history of the United States. Even FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, just had to admit that bank deposits are declining. In the second quarter, remember this is the latest official data that they published, total deposits declined for the fifth consecutive quarter. Consumers are losing confidence in the banking system. In fact, the massive, truly massive deposit outflow is a wake-up call that raises very serious questions about the banking structure in its traditional sense and the banking crisis. What is truly behind it? Is it intentional, or can this be written off as incompetence on the part of those who are making decisions? Of course, there's no clear answer to those questions, and the answer may very well be a simple one. It's both. In any case, if you think that the banking crisis is over, unfortunately, there's absolutely nothing that supports that perspective. Next year, the banking crisis will get worse precisely because the majority of regional banks are exposed to commercial real estate loans, and I have several videos with more details if you're interested to learn more. This is why mid-sized US lenders are keeping large piles of cash. Here's Reuters saying that lenders are preparing for the worst case scenario. US lenders are holding on to large piles of cash as insurance against a slowing economy, continuing deposit outflows, and looming tougher liquidity rules that could particularly impact mid-sized banks. Here you can see the increase in cash that US banks are now holding. This does not happen when banks predict any positive outcome in the near term. They are indeed preparing for the worst case scenario. In other words, mid-sized banks are extremely concerned that there may come a day soon when a large number of people want to withdraw cash at the same exact time. They need to be able to conserve cash now to cover withdrawal requests, or alternatively, they will face bigger risks such as failure. The second reason why we see banks now having higher cash levels is a rise in consumer delinquencies. Consumer delinquencies mean that banks will have to take a loss on bad loans. If we look at consumer delinquencies to date, we'll see there's a sharp increase overall. Auto loans and credit cards are the leaders. Those are rising monthly. Credit card delinquencies rose to 8% as of the end of the second quarter, official data, and auto loans were at 3.8%. Since student loan payments resumed this month in October, unfortunately, we will see delinquencies continue to rise. So far, I talked about two main issues that our regional banks are facing. We talked about deposit outflows and rising delinquencies, which mean losses for our lenders. There is the third risk factor that nobody seems to be talking about, but it is a purely political one that may be part of the bigger initiative to see fewer banks and more consolidation. You understand why it would be beneficial, right? That's along the lines of the WEF agenda. So the third risk factor that's weighing on small to mid-sized banks is government regulation. With so much economic and geopolitical uncertainty, and especially we see an escalation of the war in Ukraine, nobody's even talking about peace. We see what uncontrolled immigration is doing to our societies. So banks expect more regulatory intervention as the result of extreme economic stress and risks. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and other US regulators have already said that they have a clear intent to introduce stricter liquidity requirements and capital requirements. Liquidity is your cash on hand. Capital mostly refers to their assets, which are loans on the bank's books. One of the biggest red flags is the amount of unrealized losses sitting on the bank's books. What's an unrealized loss versus a realized loss, you may ask? It is a loss on a security that has decreased, that has declined in value, but you just haven't sold that security yet. Once you sell it, your loss will become realized. Here's FDIC saying these losses are increasing with the increase in rates. After declining in the prior 2 quarters, unrealized losses on available for sale and held to maturity securities increased from the prior quarter to $558.5 billion. That is the amount of unrealized losses that the U.S. financial institutions have on their books.
Okay, any comments on that? Like I said, it's not but a matter of time. So let this play out. Everything going down. Okay.
Blom is back at it again. Now, of course, you guys may have heard his name. He is a part of the group American Alliance for Equal Rights that sued to have the educational component of affirmative action overturned earlier in June, where he was representing a group of Asians that said that they were being harmed by that law because they were smart and that their test scores were keeping them out, opposed to they were letting Black people who were not as smart as them into colleges that they wanted to get into. So, of course, that was overturned. Well, he's been on a war path, if you will, and recently he sued a Black woman-owned group by the name of Fearless Fund that gives money to Black women-owned businesses in Atlanta, right? And so he says, well, it's not fair that you guys are just giving money to Black women. And I know people, and some of those people were Asian, that applied for some of that money, and you guys told them no because they weren't Black women. Well, so that lawsuit is still pending. Well, he took another portion of that to the appeals court in Atlanta because at first it was ruled in the Black women's group favor that they could still give out funding while the lawsuit was pending. Well, he managed to get that blocked. So basically, those Black women cannot give out money to anybody until the lawsuit is settled. And so he is invoking the 1866 Civil Rights Act, and specifically he's using Section 1981 that says that businesses cannot be discriminated against, or actually people cannot be discriminated against when it comes to business contracts. I guess he is counting that as a business contract, them being able to give money specifically to Black women. And so that's also how he got the affirmative action and educational component overturned as well. He used a Civil Rights Act that was actually meant for Black people. And so I think it's very messed up, but we've also been warned about calling ourselves minorities, right? We've been warned a very long time, and specifically by that of Dr. Claude Anderson, don't call yourself minorities because that actually benefits everybody else. And so the white man, Edward Blum, is actually just using that law to help white people and Asians and actually undoing a lot of the things that the Civil Rights Act was meant to do. And he said, in fact, that is his sole purpose, is to turn it on his head and to get rid of it because good white people and Asians are being discriminated against, and it's not fair. So it should also be said that the appellate court there in Atlanta was a 2-1 decision. 2 Republicans that were appointed by Trump, and then 1 Democrat who was upset that took place in regards to the funds being blocked. But, you know, we're going to see what happens there. So anyway, y'all tell me what you think.
Okay. Anybody heard anything about that? Any comments?
No, sir, I haven't heard it.
Say it again.
I said no, sir. I didn't hear it about it.
Guess you need to know information right here.
Imagine, if you will, a campaign of misinformation seeking to distort history and turn back decades of slow but steady progress. Imagine an organized effort to wipe away the stories of struggle, the lessons of past mistakes, and the truth of an unjust system requiring change. You may think this dystopian scenario could only exist in the realm of fiction, but what if we told you this insidious unraveling of history is already underway in our schools, our legislatures, and our media? The truth about our past risks becoming a casualty in the escalating culture wars of our present. In this series, we will explore the troubling rise of revisionist efforts to whitewash the history books and our understanding of systemic inequity. We will reveal who is behind these coordinated attacks and expose their end goal of blocking social progress. Their twisted revisionism aims to lull the populace back into a fantasy world where injustice supposedly no longer exists, acting as a sedative of false history. The question is, will we allow truth itself to become the newest victim of widening polarization? Or can we separate fact from partisan agenda? The battle for the integrity of American history is on, and you, dear viewer, have a front row seat to the action. So sit back, open your eyes to the shadows creeping across the land, and experience the war on Black history. Have you heard the word woke used more and more lately? It seems everyone has an opinion on wokeness these days. But what does it mean to be woke? In this video, we'll explore the origins and evolution of wokeness as a concept. We'll break down the core principles it promotes, the positive aims it strives for, and the debates it stirs. By looking at all sides in depth, we can go beyond inflammatory buzzwords and oversimplified hot takes. We can gain a nuanced understanding of the deeper story behind the idea of wokeness in modern society. There's far more complexity to unpack than most reactionary social media chatter would have you believe. To start, let's clarify what woke fundamentally refers to in current culture and activism. At its core, being woke means being aware of and actively attentive to issues of racial justice, social equality, and systemic biases that affect marginalized groups. Wokeness is associated with recognizing ongoing problems like white privilege, institutional racism, police brutality, gender inequality, and other forms of oppression that extend beyond individual attitudes or actions. In essence, if someone encourages you to stay woke or get woke, they're telling you to open your eyes and pay attention to injustice in society. Don't be complicit or passive. Wake up, speak out, and take action. Now, where did this idea of staying woke originate? The roots of wokeness as a concept trace back generations in African American culture and activist spaces. Going back to the 1930s and 40s, the phrase "stay woke" emerged in Black English as a way to describe having self-awareness, consciousness, and vigilance against racism and injustice toward the Black community. By the turbulent 1960s and 70s era of civil rights activism and Black power, leaders like Malcolm X and Jesse Jackson were using staying woke to encourage skepticism of dominant power structures. They pushed for greater political engagement and empowerment to fight systemic racism and oppression. In the early 2000s, as figures like Erykah Badu and other hip-hop voices picked up the phrase, "stay woke" was more widely adopted, especially among Black youth culture. It became about promoting racial pride, self-care, and educational empowerment in the face of ongoing marginalization. Most recently, the phrase "stay woke" gained major mainstream prominence through the growth of the Black Lives Matter movement in response to high-profile police killings of African Americans like Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, and others. From 2014 to 2016, as cell phone and body camera videos documenting police brutality went viral on social media, The abbreviated slang term, woke, entered into mainstream parlance as public consciousness rapidly spread about ongoing racial injustices and the need for reform. The vivid documentation of policy violence catalyzed outrage and demands for justice, waking many Americans up to long-standing systemic issues. Stay woke surged as a rallying cry, while critics increasingly used woke as a term of derision. But the core principles behind the concept continued resonating. However, it wasn't long before there was some mainstream backlash against the concept of wokeness. As tolerance for inequality waned, many voices started using woke mockingly or disapprovingly, seeing contemporary social justice advocacy as excessive, puritanical, or going too far. Despite some resistance, the core ethos and principles of wokeness had taken hold in culture, spurring valuable discussions on issues from criminal justice reform to LGBTQ rights and beyond. So now that we've traced its evolved meaning, what specific kinds of views, beliefs, and behaviors does wokeness encompass or promote today? What are the defining characteristics of someone who is woke on social issues? First and foremost, being woke means seeing and opposing systemic oppression in society, not just individual acts of prejudice. It recognizes that racism, sexism, homophobia, and other forms of discrimination are deeply ingrained in policies, laws, institutions, traditions, language, and cultural norms over generations. Woke ideology asserts that activism needs to identify and reform these patterns of inequality embedded thoroughly into the very fabric of society in order to make progress. Secondly, wokeness emphasizes the idea of identity consciousness. It says we should each be more aware of our own social identity, background, and experiences, and how those shape the lens through which we see the world. For members of marginalized groups, embracing one's identity is presented as empowering, as is building community strength through intersectional solidarity among groups facing oppression. Thirdly, advocating actively for equity for marginalized demographics is central to woke values. Being woke means taking concrete steps to stand up against the oppression of groups like people of color, women, LGBTQ people, immigrants, and religious or ethnic minorities. It means speaking out against injustice through protest, activism, political reform, and changing hearts and minds in your own inner circle. Allyship and empowerment of the vulnerable are vital. Additionally, wokeness promotes addressing societal inequity and discrimination in broad, systemic ways across institutions, from education and politics to pop culture, business, and law. Woke ideology asserts that all facets of society need reform to dismantle ingrained biases and create more inclusive, just systems for opportunity and advancement. The breadth of this reform advocacy differentiates it from single-issue movements. Tactics associated with wokeness include efforts like diversifying elite universities and workplaces to correct representation imbalances, toppling monuments venerating controversial historical figures, advocating for trigger warnings in classrooms, or amplifying voices of marginalized groups across media and culture. Of course, this expansive approach inevitably breeds some backlash. Critics of contemporary wokeness argue it often focuses excessively on publicly shaming individual people for perceived microaggressions or slight missteps. They say the rapid rush to judgment and punishment on social media, known as cancel culture, leaves little room for nuance, context, growth, or redemption. And they argue this can create a destructive, reactionary environment not conducive to unity, healing, or progress. However, woke advocates contend that consciousness of injustice is the essential first step to spurring urgently needed reforms. They argue that marginalized groups are long overdue for equity after centuries of state-backed oppression and violence.
Okay, yeah, so that's not, I was listening to that last night, and that's not my interpretation of what woke is. Anybody got any comments on that? Can you give me a definition of what you think woke is? Yeah, I always assumed that once I got into this information, that woke was knowing who you are, knowing that you're a Hebrew Israelite, and that knowing that so-called Jesus Christ is not the Messiah, and the people that's over in the land of Israel is not the real Israelites. That's what my assumption is. It's like they took their word and made something else out of it to try to uh, denigrate its impact. And what I mean by that is, uh, I read this all the time. It's Isaiah 44. This is my interpretation of what woke is. Okay, let me get it. Read it. There you go. It's Isaiah 44, 1 through 5. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, Israel, or my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus said the Lord that made thee, and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jezreel, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, floods upon dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessings upon thine offspring, and they shall spring up. Right here. That's what woke means to me. And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourse. And one shall say, I am the Lord's. And another shall call himself by the name of Jacob. And another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, and surname himself Israel. And so we see, especially in the last 10 years or so, that's really escalated. So that's my interpretation of what woke is. My guy thought I came into this, and let's see how they uh, redirected that meaning of that word to something else. Okay, is there some? So nobody will have no comments. I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything that they came across they want to talk about or they want to share, dialogue on it?
Yeah, I was trying to chime in, but I'm like in a matrix. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I Yeah, I'm just having a problem hearing. So I mean, the whole woke situation that I get from what's going on today is no different from what we was doing in the mid to late '80s. You know, where at a point in time everybody was rocking uh the Africa medallions and things of that nature, you know. And there
Right,
was a major shutdown when that gangster music came in. So being a kid that was raised in hip hop, the majority of the people that was talking to us was hip hop acts like Rakim, KRS-One, Poor Righteous Teachers, Africa, well, not so much, but X Clan, and you know what I'm
right,
saying, who was pumping that pro black understanding that was causing an awakening in the people. So
right,
in this modern era, it's that same spirit that's rising up, and they call it wokeism. But it was a process we was already going through once before. The only difference is that process we was going through back in the '80s and the mid to late '80s and the early '90s was that there was certain um people that was not invested in that understanding. But today, right, they're invested in that understanding. So now it becomes this thing called wokeism, where now these people get to comment and judge what woke actually is. You know what I mean? Because they done infiltrated our culture. So, it's like they said, like when Tawana Brawley was raped and beat bad, Public Enemy had that song called Fight the Power.
right,
And people responded according to that because we was on, a whole different understanding, a whole different conscience. We wasn't on, that Rodney King understanding of let's all just get along. No, we was raising up our people. You know what I mean? And that's
Right.
what he said, saying if you fast forward years later to the time where another young brother got shot, the biggest song on the radio was like a lollipop. And
Right.
nobody responded to what happened because the frequency was off. So this whole wokeism, since we don't allow these people to infiltrate our cultures, which is what we was doing in Israel, it dumbed us down to what the truth of everything was. So now we have to argue about what wokeism actually means. When in actuality we shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? If we stayed firm in our understanding of what we is actually doing here. So it still goes back to what you just said in Isaiah 44 about springing up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? The only difference is now is these people are now infiltrated into our system, which is what took place with the boule and the monetization of our culture and things of that nature. You know what I mean? So that's what I get from this whole new thing called woke. You know?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yes. We was talking about that. If I'm not mistaken, it was may have been last night or even Saturday, but how they've been monitoring us, and then after, from they observing us, and over time they come and they know just what to do. It's like I said, they watched us forever when we was on the West Coast Ave before they came. In 1619, they had monitored. They had been sending people in there, surveying the land, doing maps and all that. They knew where everything was at before they came. They know we had the wealth and everything. And then we see the the I can't think of the name of it, the syphilis project. I can't think of the name of it, but they were doing.
Tuskegee Project.
Yeah, they was checking that, observing us like that. Then, and when they came with the Wall Street, Black Wall Street, and shut that down. They was observing us then, and then they was observing us when we was in Harlem, when Harlem was rocking, and in Chicago,
Philadelphia.
yeah, all those
Philadelphia.
cities observed us, and they came in with a plan and usurped us.
Yeah, they
We
bombed.
see.
Remember, like, in what was it? What was it, like in 80, 84, 85 or something? They bombed, they strategically bombed houses in Philadelphia.
Right,
The
exactly.
US government. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So they stayed, they know who we are. They always
Right,
known it. So now they done, what I'm saying, made themselves comfortable once again with the boule that we don't consider boule. So who we don't consider boule? NWA, uh, these types of acts that we're not considering the
right,
boule, but these dudes operated for coin, for lucre,
right, right.
to indoctrinate the people, to create the
Exactly.
prison industrial complex. You know what I mean? And all of these types of, so people think the boule is just these college. Nah, these college people was, it's like a web. That's exactly what it is. It's a web that they weave. So they expanded the consciousness to other folks who would have otherwise been for the cause, you know. But
Exactly.
through the money, through the power, through the influence, they went that route. And now these are the very same ones now that are trying to come back to the people, you know.
Exactly. Right.
Shalom.
Yeah. It's like okay.
Yeah, just like Brother Mike and you're saying, Brother Leonard too, the infiltration and words have meaning, and when you put whatever different meaning you want it to mean, like projects. When they came up with project, it was just that, a project, to see how they can put all of the black or low income people in an area to research them and see how they can keep them down, and the project with the welfare to keep them in a certain um, money status, and to keep degrading them. So project was something that they started and kept it going, just to study the people and see how they can continue to control them by using the words project. And you're thinking, oh, a project, that's just community. But no, it was an actual project that they were doing, the experimental project, just like, the Tuskegee and all of those other things. So when you look at the 80s, like you said, Mike, in the 90s, or back in the 60s and 70s, when the music was like Curtis Mayfield and those that had messages in their words, and people felt that, and they pulled together and they did things, but now, like you say, with the infiltration, they know to pull them together with gangs and drugs and killing.
Right, right. Like you saying, sister. So we had what, Sam Cooke, Marvin talking about what's going on in that day. So,
Exactly.
like in our day, it was the projects, right? Fast forward that from our time to around 2003, 2005. Now it's the trap. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's what the young folks call it now. They call it trap. I'm trapping. I'm in the trap. You know. So the whole wokeism is based off of that understanding. You know, but it's nothing new. It's something that's been going on. So who even coined the phrase woke? That's my biggest question is what entity decided to now coin it woke? You know, that's a question I have. Like, who came up with that it's called woke to the point where they could put extra words on it and call it wokeism and things
Right.
like that. You know?
Shalom. And we take it all the way back to the garden when Samuel was telling Eve about, her eyes opening and knowing good and evil, you know. And if you want to kind of put that to the word woke, like she was sleeping. She had her directions, but then he wanted to put a twist on it and tell her, she would see more and know more and be like God, be like
Right.
Lord of hosts, and she would know more.
Well,
Okay. Yeah. So I was trying to think of the guy name. I think he the one that coined it. Uh, um, he's the one who first started talking about the boule. I can't think of his name. Stokey something, I think. Uh, yeah. So
who
anybody else have
Carmichael?
huh?
Carmichael? Stokely?
No,
Stokely
no,
Carmichael?
no, it's not
Oh,
him. It's the other guy. That's one they paused him a couple times. Then they finally killed him. That his name on the tip of my tongue, but I can't say it. He's the one started exposing the boule. First one started exposing the boule. Yeah, well, anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna play this right here. This is something that happened to supposedly happened today. Okay. I only respond when there's an emergency. There you go. Okay, thanks everybody. I'm just kidding.
On October 4th, hundreds of millions of cell phones across the U.S. received a text message in that alert tone as part of a test of the National Emergency Alert System.
So many of us grew up with the emergency broadcast system, right?
This is a test. This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcasting system. This is only a test.
Getting that tone on your TV that interrupted whatever program you were watching. This is just the modern version of that going to people's cell phones.
Nationwide alerts for mobile devices were in the works since the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, but didn't become operational until 2012. Federal law requires the government to conduct a nationwide test at least every 3 years. The purpose of the test is to ensure that the emergency response systems continue to be effective means of warning the public about emergencies. This is the third time FEMA has conducted a wireless nationwide test of all cell phone emergency alerts, but a second test to all cellular devices.
Getting alerts out promptly to our communities saves lives. That's why FEMA is working with the Federal Communications Commission and your local public safety authorities on this test.
There are 4 different types of wireless emergency alerts. National or presidential alerts, which can only be issued by the president during a national emergency. Imminent threat alerts involving hazards on the local level, like extreme weather. Amber alerts about missing or abducted children. And public safety alerts, which have information about threats that may not be as imminent. More than 1,600 federal, state, and local authorities use what's known as the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, or IPAWS, to issue alerts and warnings to people in their jurisdictions. Most cell phones powered on within reach of a cell phone tower and participating in wireless service should be triggered by the national test. Television shows and radio broadcasts will also be interrupted with an emergency test message. Only local emergency alerts, like Amber alerts or severe weather warnings, can be disabled in advance.
You cannot opt out of a national alert, and that's because it is sent by the president. So if the president is deciding to send an alert, it's considered important enough that you should receive it no matter what. Aside from test alerts, the president has not, to my knowledge, ever sent a national alert.
While the national alert system has only been tested, authorities have used this system locally more than 84,000 times since 2012, making it a challenge for authorities to decide how often to hit send.
They're constantly trying to find that balance of what's too much and what's too little. If you don't send enough alerts, then you might not be reaching everyone. Versus if you send too many, you might desensitize people. There's very much that balance or that needle that they're trying to thread.
For FEMA.
Okay. Anybody experience anything today came to the so-called alert?
Yep.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
I haven't.
I did. My phone went off.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I didn't turn my phone off. My
It
phone
wasn't
went off.
They ain't say nothing? They ain't say nothing?
Yeah, it was the typical message that you would get. This is an alert and things of that nature. That's what I was in Walmart when it happened.
Okay.
So it was awesome watching everybody in Walmart just stop what they was doing.
Okay.
And so the interesting thing is, like, from what I got from other people, because I wasn't paying attention to the time, was that everybody was told that it was going to happen at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Right.
But what actually happened was that it actually went off like 2 minutes before 2 p.m.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So everybody who was like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait and shut my phone off or my smart device off," nah, they done hit you like two plus minutes earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So it was just a major alert that went out all over the place. So I'm in Walmart shopping, and I'm just watching everybody like, oh, okay. And all you heard was this alert going on people's phones and everything like that. And everybody had to stop, look at it, shut their shit off and continue working. Continue shopping and things. The cutest thing to me, like, let me give y'all this. The cutest thing was that it was this elderly couple, and the husband was reading a crackers box, and his phone was just going off the whole time. And his wife was like, honey, your phone, you gotta check your phone. This man never once thought to touch his phone. He just kept reading the ingredients on his crackers box. I thought that was awesome. But
Okay.
it was just, yeah, it was just pretty much, the typical alert. I know people that told me that it didn't touch their smart TVs. Didn't come across it. It came across, just their cellular device. You know, my daughter, she was at work. She was like, nah, it ain't come across her computer or anything like that. It was just, you know, this quote unquote alert that went on.
Okay. Yeah, it's supposed to have another one on 11.
Right. Another one.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So I'll hit you with another thing then. So it happened twice. It happened twice. The alert went off twice. So it went off that one time at I guess before 2 p.m. And
Right.
then I would say it went off maybe 15 to 20 minutes later again.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So it went off that
Yeah.
first initial time that they said. And then 20 minutes, I received it. And on my phone, I could pull my phone out and just hit the button, right? Okay, or whatever. I hit that.
Okay.
Cool. And then it did it again later on that day,
Okay.
like 15, 20 minutes later.
You did something? Okay. Anybody else have
Shalom.
anything? Yeah.
Shalom, everyone. I was going to say the same thing Brother Mike said because I had turned my phone off. And, they said it was supposed to last like a minute, right? So I turned my phone back on once I thought it was all over. And then I looked at my phone and it was going off. It was like 1:22 Central Time that it started going off again. So I just shut my phone down. And it was like 5 minutes later, I turned my phone back on and it was still going off, right? So last night I had researched on how you can turn those settings off because you can turn off like the Amber Alert and things like that in your settings. And even though I had done that, it still went off and it lasted longer than a minute.
Right. It'll still. That's what I'm saying. It really wouldn't matter. You could have your phone off or anything like that. You gotta think about the people we dealing with. Think about this for a minute. When you go to update your phone, right? You update it, and now the phone is completely updated. What the phone prompts you, and it tells you something. And what it tells you is the phone is about to shut off to complete the update. So shutting your phone off ain't gonna do nothing. These things will shut
Right.
themselves off, and then you don't have to press a button for it to fire itself back up. They fire themselves up anyway. You know what I'm saying? While they're completing whatever update your phone has to go through. So shutting your phone off wouldn't have done anything. It really wouldn't have. From what I was hearing and a lot of people that was talking in the know, quote unquote, they was like you would have had to have something called a Faraday bag, which supposedly blocks out all of these types of signals that's being transmitted and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, that shit don't really matter because if
Right.
you could shut your phone off if you want to, are you shutting your neighbor's phone off? You shutting their phones
Mm-hmm.
off? How about your neighbor's neighbors? How about your neighbor's phone? So shutting your phone off, what's that going to do? You
Well,
know,
I can tell you it did not work at all. I'm here to tell you because I experienced it. I did it myself and it did not work. So to me, Brother Mike, that just lets us know how much control they have over us and
yes,
our
ma'am.
devices. We have no type of control whatsoever. Even if you do certain settings in your phone, they still have control.
Yes,
Shalom.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Shalom. Well, I did not update my phone as of yet, and it did not. And when I said I didn't get the alert, I was in the doctor's office with my son, and it did not come across. And I guess because my phone wasn't updated, but I did not get it, and it was um, 1:59, and then I said, okay, I'll cut it off, and I turned it back on at 1 o'clock. And I mean at 2:30, and I didn't get an aftermath of it going off because I had it off. So it could be in that I didn't have it reset or updated, but it didn't affect my phone. I didn't hear it.
All right. Well, sis, on the low, I don't want you to tell nobody. Let's just keep it amongst us. Give us your provider, that type of phone you have, because that's what we need, I guess. We need that.
Okay.
Shalom. Well, I turned my phone off. My phone is updated, and I turned it off for an hour, and I didn't get a signal, nor did I get any um, indication that a signal had come across my phone. I didn't get anything. I turned off all my phones and computers, and I didn't hear or see anything.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, we need those. That's what we need. Then
Okay.
I need that because that's unique and that's what we need. I ain't asking, you know what I'm saying? Not now. And maybe we can figure that out. But for the majority of people, that's what happened. So I need y'all's information.
Right. Go back to what we were saying earlier about words. So they said turn off your smartphones, turn off all your smart devices. So smart for who? Is it smart for us or is it smart for them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. It's working against us. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's a prime example of what we was just saying. Like it worked different for everyone, right? Because my son was home with me. We got the same provider and we have iPhones, but his phone did not go off.
Okay.
But mine's did. So I mean, not knowing really what's being taken place behind the scene between Cheryl, Gladys, Mike, me. I don't know about anybody else, but we all experienced something totally different.
Right.
It didn't happen like they said it was going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, my
And
phone. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, my phone was like because I was trying to remember that it says 120 here where I'm at, and it had caught it before I could catch it, but it was like maybe not even 10 to 15 seconds. Then it went back to my phone because I was on the phone at the time, and it just went right back into the phone conversation like within 10 to 15 seconds.
Okay. It's like an
Yeah.
override.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
what I mean, at the end of the day, let's big home brother Leonard constantly tells us think like Hebrews. Whatever they doing, it really ain't got nothing. Me and Markel was talking about this earlier. It really ain't got nothing to do with us. We
Right.
really do the math on it. You know what I'm saying? Like it really ain't got nothing to do. Like they know where we are, they know who we are. So, as we see, it ain't got nothing to do with the conspiracy theories about the what and folks and things of that nature. But these people always gotta let you know what I'm saying, what's going on. Remember, I don't know if anybody know, they was going through the same process. Russia was doing the same thing. They was doing their alerts. You know what I'm saying, and things of that nature, to making sure they could tell the people what's going on. They
Right.
have to. It's just what they gotta do. They gotta let you know. So, if anything was to act out of sequence that you've been living, they could be like, yo, hey, we told you. You know what I'm saying? This is what's possibly coming. And that's exactly what it is. Like we've had this happen already on our cell phones. 2 years ago, I think, that they hit our cell phones, they pinged our cell phones with an EMS message. So it's like Leonard just said, Yo, we all get Amber Alerts and shit on our cell phones. So why is this any different? You know what I'm saying? So this is why I'm saying I flee. You know what I'm saying? Separate yourselves from that understanding, because that's the shit that got us in the pocket that we in right now when they ping our cell phones. We on cell phones right now. We on their like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like all of us right here right now are just talking. You can't feel my breath. We're using their product to talk this truth we talking. Think about that.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like let's really think about what we're doing. So, you know what I mean? Like they know what's up, regardless. So I can't, how can I run from, you know what I'm saying? This is
Right.
their creation. I'm using their creation while I'm talking to you right now in real time. In real time we're talking to each other. And I'm hours apart from a lot of you, right? And we talking
Right.
easy, real time on their products. Like, really? Do we think?
Yeah, YouTube too.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, do we really? So think like in Hebrew. We got to start, you know what I'm saying, understanding what that really means. You know?
Right.
So brother Leonard, if you think about it, and everybody else on here, if you watch uh any type of police investigation, right? And they get the people's cell phone and they can find out what area they was in, what they text, who they called or whatever. So even if you delete things off of your phone, you know what I'm saying? They can see whatever you researched and whatever has been deleted. They are in control.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's never really all the way deleted.
Right. It
It's
is
still there.
not.
Right. I keep hit the shit on the head. It's never really deleted. It's never really deleted. You
Right.
know?
Smart.
Um,
Yeah, like Leonard said, is it smart for us or is
Right.
it smart for them? You see?
hello.
You
Hmm.
know?
Yes. Yes. But certain phones, just like the providers or the Apple, when the gentleman had did that bomb when they was doing the running, I can't remember exactly what running marathon they were doing, that they
In Boston.
subpoenaed. They subpoenaed Apple so they could get into the person's phone, but they would not let them do it. And they said there was no way that they can do it, and no one could do it. So there is some things that they can't do. It's not like they can always do it. The person who's providing these phones, making them coming from overseas, they have rules and regulations in their country where if a certain word is put out on the text, they immediately go to wherever they are and question them of what they meant by meeting up, going to whatever. They do that to them. But here, I don't think they have that much control of what we have on our phones or in how we could, um, use it or where we are located unless you turn on your location and do all those things. Use those apps. But there are some things I don't think that they can actually, go into doing on the phone. But then, give them time. They made it.
I'm if I hold up, if I can interject right quick, I'm gonna ask you, sis, you really believe that?
Believe that they could not go into that phone with the Boston
Yeah,
at that time.
yeah. You really believe that?
Not at that. Well,
You know?
now that we question the question, um, mm, no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, they're gonna feed us. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna feed us a perception. But the truth of the matter is, if you think about it, I ain't trying to go too deep into London's class, but if you think about it, remember when they had Zuckerberg in front of the council, they had the council, they had him in front of Congress, speaking about, our protective rights and things of this nature. They put it in our face as to how this really works. They have to show us exactly what they're doing. So let's think about it. China has something called the social credit score. What is that based upon? Just the things that they say we can see as people, right? No, that's not how that works. But that's what they'll feed us. Why? Because they know we'll believe it. And that's the problem we have, because they've been feeding us a false god for so long. And they know we will believe it. So all everything that's going on right now, it's our job as Israelites to question it. You know what I'm saying? Easy. It's our job to question a lot of these things that's being presented to us. And that's our job right now, I think, is to question it, to understand exactly how these people operate. So it's like, yo, think about what just took place. So while the government is this government is talking about shutdowns, they had time to vote. Check this out now. They had time to vote and agree to oust the Speaker of the House, right?
Right.
Which was the same person we was waiting on to speak about not shutting down the government. How does that work?
Okay.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Shalom.
So we're gonna oust the Speaker of the House, but the Speaker of the House is the person that was announcing to us whether or not the government was going to be shut down. They gave him the boot in real time in our face while this 10-4 just took place. Now pay attention, for those that aren't military or truck drivers, understand 10-4 phonetic information. Okay. So I worked in transit, and every time my dispatcher would say something to me, I would respond with a 10-4. 10-4. Yo, I need you to go do this. You go 10-4. Police, yeah, 10-4. So ain't this the day that they did this 10-4? October, according to their understanding, October 4th, a 10 and a 4. So a 10-4 means compliance. You're complying.
Yeah, and the military tracking.
Yes, ma'am. You see what I'm saying? That's a
Right.
10-4. It's a 10-4. So what just went out was a 10-4. The same shit that went out on 9/11. Y'all, is it connected?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
You see, so that's them folks. So now, guess why we here? We here right now to fucking listen to Leonard. You know what I'm saying? So we separate. You know what I'm saying? We our congregation, our community. We watching this. We watching. You know what I mean? All of that. They ain't got nothing to do with us. It really don't. You know. All right, I'm done.
Right. It ain't like it's gonna usurp anything the Lord of hosts doing or the most high. Right. Anybody else got any comments on that? From start reading out of Book of Enoch.
Shalom. I just have one more thing. So just say, for instance, you're on YouTube or you're on your computer on the internet and you are researching something, say some type of music or whatever, right? When you turn back on your computer or YouTube, what's going to come up first? Music.
Right.
Whatever you researched last time on your, and a lot of people don't understand this and they wonder why stuff comes up on their page. If you don't know a lot about computers, you're not going to understand this. Whatever you're researching on your computer, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're researching and looking at, it's going to start popping up on your news feed every time
Algorithm.
you come on it. Right.
Never stop until you do so another search.
Right. So people are saying, "Oh, I don't know how this going. I don't do," because you're researching that.
Right.
So they're going to bring that up first,
Right.
and that's what a lot of people don't understand. If you're looking at cars or certain type of books, or like I say, FBI channels or whatever, that is what's going to populate for you when you turn on your, computer. You, like I say, you go on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or whatever, that is what's going to come across first on your home screen. That's because you've been researching it. Like I said, you can never delete it or hide it.
Right. Yeah.
Shalom. You can also speak it, and it does the same thing. Sometimes when Leonard gives out the titles of the videos that he's played, they start coming up in my feed, and I'll be like, I mean, on my YouTube, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I don't have to look for it. But yeah, you can speak it, and the same thing happens.
Yeah, that's that algorithm.
Yes, sir. And a lot of
Right.
people that's not
Right.
computer literate don't understand that.
And the
Right.
algorithm is all about finances and control. And when they throw all these different ads up to entice you to spend money, everything goes back to the greed, the money, the control.
Okay. Okay. Everybody good?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So I'm gonna read. The Book of Enoch. It's section 5. It says the book of the exaltations and promised blessings. Right. So reason I'm reading it is the blessings that we had coming, and the blessings that we got coming, and the exaltation and all that. It was all given to Enoch. So let's look at it. It says the book written by Enoch. Notice what it says. The book written by Enoch. Enoch indeed wrote this complete doctrine of wisdom, which is praise of all men, and a judge of all the earth for all my children who shall dwell on the earth. So that's anybody who was there at that time and anybody that can be born. Enoch gave it to it. So it says, and for the future generations who shall observe uprightness and peace. Let not your spirit be troubled on account of the times, for the Holy and the Great One has appointed days for all things, and the righteous one shall arise from sleep. He shall arise and walk in the path of righteousness. In all his paths, the conversation shall be in eternal goodness and grace. He will be gracious to the righteous and give him eternal uprightness. He will give him power so that he shall be endowed with greatness, with goodness and righteousness. He shall walk in eternal light, and sin shall perish in darkness forever, and shall no more be seen from that day forevermore. Okay, so chapter 91 says, and now my son Methuselah called to me all my brothers, and gathered to me all the sons of thy mother. For the, for the word calls me, and the Spirit is poured out upon me, that I may show you everything that shall befall you forever. See that? He said, this Enoch talking, that I may show you everything. He ain't leaving out nothing. So he says, that I may show you everything that shall befall you forever. And thereupon Methuselah went a summon to him, to all his brothers, and assembled his relatives. And he spake unto all the children of righteousness, and said, hear, ye sons of Enoch, all the words of your father, and hearken aright to the voice of my mouth. For I exalt you, and say unto you, beloved, love uprightness, and walk therein. Draw not nigh to uprightness with a double heart, and associate not with those of a double heart. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, it says, exalt you and say unto you, beloved, love uprightness and walk therein, and draw not nigh to uprightness with a double heart, and associate not with those of a double heart, but walk in righteousness, my sons, and it shall guide you on good paths, and righteousness shall be your companion. For I know that the violence must increase on the earth, and a great chastisement be executed on the earth. And all uprightness come to an end. Yea, it shall come. It shall be cut off from its root, and the whole structure be destroyed. Uprightness shall again be consummated on the earth, and all the deeds of unrighteous and of violence and transgression shall prevail in a twofold degree. And when sin and uprightness and blasphemy and violence and all kinds of deeds increase, and apostasy and transgression and uncleanness increase, a great chastisement shall come from the heaven upon all these, and the Holy Lord will come forth with the wrath and chastisement to execute judgment on the earth. In those days violence shall be cut off from its root, and the roots of unrighteousness together with deceit. So it's the flood, in case you want to know. It says, and they shall be destroyed from under heaven, and all the idols of the heathen shall be abandoned, and the temple burn with fire, and they shall remove them from the whole earth, and the heathen shall be cast into the judgment of fire, and shall perish in the wrath, and in great and grievous judgment forever. And the righteous shall arise from their sleep, and wisdom shall arise and be given unto them. And after that, the roots of uprightness shall be cut off, and the sinners shall be destroyed by the sword, shall they be cut off from the blasphemers in every place. And those who plan violence and those who commit blasphemy shall perish by the sword. And now I tell you, my sons, and show you the paths of righteousness and the paths of violence. Yea, I will show them to you again, that you may know what will come to pass. And now hearken unto me, my sons, and walk in the paths of righteousness, and walk not in the paths of violence. For all who walk in the paths of uprightness unrighteousness shall perish forever. And after that, Enoch both gave and began to recount from the books. And Enoch said concerning the children of righteousness and concerning the elect of the world, and concerning the plants of uprightness, I will speak these things. Yea, I, Enoch, will declare them unto you, my son. So what I want to go back to is the previous verse. It says, after that, Enoch gave and began to recount from the books. So way back here, Enoch got books. So this definitely ain't King James Bible, right? So you say, what are you talking about? Well, go to Daniel. Ain't that what Jeremiah did? Or Daniel did? Look back on the book of Jeremiah to find out what was going on, what was going to happen when with Israel. Yeah, so Jeremiah ain't doing nothing no different than what Enoch did. Okay, so it says, and then like I said, you hear people say, don't deal with these books. But there you go right here. Looking at what books is this? Okay, anyway, 5. According to that which appeared to me in the heavenly vision, and which I have known through the word of the holy angels, and have learned from the heavenly tablets. And Enoch began to recount from the books and said, I was born. There you go again. I was born the 7th of the first week, while judgment and righteousness shall endure. And after me there shall arise in the 2nd week great wickedness, and deceit shall have sprung up, and in there it shall be first in, and in it a man shall be saved. And after it is ended, unrighteousness shall grow up. Let me see somebody come up. Okay. Okay, so you see, and a law shall be made for the sinner, and after that, in the 3rd week, and its closed, and man shall be elected as a plant of righteous judgment, and his posterity shall become the plant of righteousness forevermore. And after that, in the 4th week, it is closed, the vision of the holy and righteous shall be seen, and a law for all generations, and enclosure shall be made for them. And after that, in the 5th week, it is closed, the house of glory and dominion shall be built forever. And after that, in the 6th week, all who live in it shall be blinded, and the hearts of all of them shall godlessly forsake wisdom. And in it a man shall ascend, and it shall, and at its close the house of dominion shall be burnt with fire, and the whole race of chosen root shall be dispersed. And after that, in the 7th week, shall an apostate generation arise, and many shall be its deeds, and all its deeds shall be apostate. And at its close, it shall be close shall be elected, the elect righteous of the eternal plan of righteousness, to receive 7-fold instructions concerning all his creation. Who is there of all the children of men that is able to hear the voice of the Holy One without being troubled? And who can think his thoughts? And who is there that can behold all the works of heaven? And how should there be one who could behold the heavens, and who is there and could understand the things of heaven, and see the souls of or the spirits, and could tell thereof, or ascend and see all their ends, and think them or do like them? And who is there of all men that could know what is in the breadth and the length of the earth, and to whom has been shown the measure of all them? Or is there anyone who could discern the length of heaven, and how great its height, and upon what is it founded, and how great the number of stars, and where all the luminaries rest? Okay, I'll read 91, then close it out, man.
Leonard.
Okay.
We can't go. We can't go no further than that.
Okay.
We can't, bro. Truth be told, I know. I know your job is just, you know, but we can't go any further than what you just read.
Okay.
It's hard. It's yeah. Why did you choose to read that right now? Oh shit.
Say it again.
Why did you choose to read that right now? Like, that's my question. Like,
Oh yeah, like I said before, I mean, it's by the or whatever it's unction to read. That's what I deal with. After,
Yeah.
I go through and glance on it, and like I said, I'm trying to cover a large base. Even with the current events, I'm trying to, tap in on different things, different days, and then when you look up, you got all this information, all this understanding that came from all these different directions. That's what happened to me. So that's what I'm doing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like what you read, man. Um, that needs so much breaking down.
Right.
It needs, and it needs so much. It needs the interpretation from the beginning specifically until the end of anybody to understand exactly what this is all about. Like, so you got folks talk about esoteric understanding, like this right here. What Leonard is yeah. So how all right, Leonard. So how will we begin to break this down then to people?
Well,
What
well,
what you
I reason I started right there because we constantly hearing. I know ever since I came into this, we constantly hearing people coming up against these books like Enoch and Asher and Jubilees, but it specifically, point blank, tell you right here, the book was written by Enoch. Enoch indeed wrote this complete document of wisdom, which is praised of all men and is judge of all the earth for all my children who shall dwell on earth. So Enoch was given that task. He was given that task. So how can you not deal with this book or deal with it?
Yo,
Because
read that shit one more time, brother. One more time, read that. Read that for me, please.
it
I
said
beg you.
the book written by Enoch, right? Enoch indeed wrote this complete doctrine of wisdom, which is praised of all men, a judge of all the earth for all my children who shall dwell on earth. So it was for from all the people from Enoch, which he was in the beginning, from Enoch, everybody's gonna come on earth. Enoch wrote it. You don't need nobody else to come and say nobody else to come and say nothing else. You got to go all the way back. Just like I said, Jeremiah. They was in captivity in Babylon. So in order to find out what's gonna happen, Daniel went to the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah was tasked to tell them what was gonna happen. And he wrote it down. So that's what Daniel went. So if you're trying to find out what's gonna happen to us and befall us, you don't go to the New Testament. You go to Enoch. He want to tell us what was gonna happen. Yeah.
Shalom, you're right, Brother Mike. It is so deep, and I kind of when you went back to come forward to even go back again, Brother Leonard, and I have one of the books of Enoch that says Enoch, the son of Jared, the seventh seed of Adam, and the great grandfather of Noah, father of Methuselah. These were people who lived for long longevity.
Right.
And he was a prophetic man, outstanding spiritual leader, and before the flood, a lot of
All
these
right, sis.
things.
Hold up.
Yes,
I hear what you're
yes,
saying. But let's give that a context. He was
okay,
a Melchizedek.
Right.
okay, we can give him the
Okay.
Melchizedek. Yes, sir.
Let's get that understanding first. These are our Melchizedeks.
Right.
Right.
You see?
He was
And now let's continue, sis.
okay. He was the Melchizedek, and to again, like Brother Leonard, when you say, how do we break this down? Why are you going to this now? Every day when Brother Leonard comes on and he talks about the end being near and seeing all the world catastrophes and prophecies that are happening, and all of these Melchizedeks will come back, just like when David will rise and judge. So you know, when you, it's like when you look at a scary movie when you was growing up, and they say, "Oh, here comes the scary part," and you're gonna cover your eyes up, you know, because you don't want to see the scary part. But now that we talked about woke and words have meanings and all of that, we these are the times. These is what we need to see. We don't need to cover up everything. We don't need to say a little bit at a time, because these things that are prophesied are coming regardless if we want them or not. We just have to be vigilant, and we have to get those eyes open to see, and not just see physically, but see in our spirit of what we know that is prophesied. So when we hear this kind of stuff with that zeal that we have, we're going to say, "Oh, Brother Leonard read out of Enoch. Let me get that book. Let me get to reading what he just said." You know, so we can stay in the know, so we can keep up, so we can be abreast of, you know, what this prophecy is telling us, which is going on in the world today. Every precept, you know, everything that happens, and we look at, even when children get raped or people get killed, we got to look in for the message. What is this? What is going on? What is the Lord of hosts saying? What is Raphael, Gabriel? What are all of these angels doing on their mission and quest to fulfill this prophecy? So I get it, and it is a lot, you know, but to whom much is given, much is desired. So when we get this, then we have to be the ones to continue to get that knowledge and make it our, you know, make it make sense to us, and so that we can stay up with it. That's my take on it, Brother Mike.
No doubt, no doubt. So I'm gonna go back. Leonard, continue with that scripture, please, sir.
Which one?
What you was just reading,
Verse
because it was
1?
something. Yeah, there was something that I wanted. In the way it's broken down was so futuristic according to that time. That's what I want. You know what I'm saying? I'm yeah. Just keep reading. Keep reading that again.
Yeah, the book written by Enoch. Enoch indeed wrote this complete doctrine of wisdom, which is praised of all men and a judge of all the earth for all my children who shall dwell on the earth, and for future generations who shall observe uprightness and peace. Let not your spirit be troubled
Pause.
on account
Right,
of the
right there, Leonard. It says, "Who shall do what? Observe.
right.
Observe." Yeah, we're not gonna be able to have herds and flocks, but we are going to observe. We're observing something
Right.
that was so sacred. We're observing something that our forefathers was doing that was so sacred. We're observing this. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
observation is a ill, and it's written right here early. Sorry, brother. Yeah, keep reading. Keep reading. Brother.
So then righteousness, uh, and the righteous one shall arise from sleep, and shall arise and walk in the path of righteousness, and all his paths and conversations shall be in eternal goodness and grace. He will be gracious to the righteous and give
That's
him
that's
uprightness.
David. That's David, right?
Um, it says, righteous one shall arise from sleep. So that means he was here before. So that can't be David, I don't think.
Well, what do you mean?
It says, look, 4 says, a righteous one shall arise from his sleep.
From his sleep, right?
Yeah. So I mean, he was. So let's look at that. So if you go to Daniel,
No. We got to. We gotta go to We gotta go to Ezekiel 37.
wait, you go to Daniel, and then you see that remember he told Daniel, go thy way and rest and sleep.
Right.
So you got to apply to that.
But who's the righteous one that's going to arise from sleep?
Okay.
You right? Who is this
Yeah.
righteous one that's going to arise from sleep?
Yeah, we'll keep reading.
Yes, sir.
Back where we was at. That was it. Okay, yeah, I said. And the righteous one shall arise from his sleep, and he shall arise and walk in the path of righteousness, and all his paths and conversations shall be in eternal goodness and grace. He will be gracious to the righteous and give him eternal righteousness, and he will give him power so that he shall
Thank
be endowed. Yeah, that's David. David.
That's David. You see,
Right.
that's David.
Right.
You know what I mean? But hold up. That shit right there ain't the crazy part. The crazy part is what you continue to read. Let's continue.
Right. And sin shall perish in darkness forever, right? And shall no more be seen from that day forevermore. And now, my son, Methuselah, call to me all my brothers, gather together to me all the sons of my mother, of thy mother. For the word calls me, the Spirit is poured out upon me, that I may show you everything that shall befall you forever. And there upon Methuselah went, and it said, and thereupon Methuselah went and summoned to him all his brothers and assembled his relatives. And he spake unto all the children of righteousness and said, hear ye sons of Enoch, all the words of the Father, and hearken aright to the voice of my mouth. For I exalt you and say unto you, beloved, love uprightness, walk in, draw not nigh to uprightness with a double heart, and associate not with those of a double heart. But
There
walk
you
in
go.
righteousness, my sons, and it shall guide you on good paths, and righteousness shall be your companion. Right? For I know
Yeah, man.
that
Sorry.
violence must agree.
No, my bad. Sorry, sir. Sorry. Go
No,
ahead, sir.
it just said that for I know that violence must increase on earth. So this is from the time Methuselah getting ready to say his goodbye to he had to bring the flood. That's the violence he's talking about.
Right. You see what I'm saying? But this the cute shit that they give us as if we didn't know who David was going to be. But yet every scripture has been telling us about David. So this is what I'm saying. People say, we dealing with a messianic age. Yes, we are. But it's just not the character that y'all observe. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? And that's the shit that I've been stressing. You know what I'm saying? Look, I know who my Messiah is. He
Right.
ain't y'all's.
Right.
You know, it's not that dude that y'all been prescribing to. Like the character that I'm dealing with is the character that, you know, I could read about in my Tanakh and see what he was doing and how mistaken and how flawed he was. That's the dude that I know. You know what I'm saying? He
Right.
relates to me. This nigga named Jesus, he don't relate to a nigga like me. And he
Okay.
don't relate to no nigga that any sister ever dealt with in her life.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm in agreement, Brother Mike.
Yeah, so I wanted to read that 5 and 6. It says, for somebody that may be listening, it says, all his paths, like you know, all his paths and conversations shall be in eternal goodness and grace. He will be gracious to this after he raised him up. He shall be gracious to the righteous. Not everybody. He shall be gracious to the righteous and give and give him eternal uprightness. and he will give him power, right? Say he will give him power that he will be endowed with goodness. So that's what I want to read. And go to the King James.
Fact.
Yes, see, go
We
to
can't
King
beat
James.
that. Yes, sir.
Uh, King James, David's last words in 2 Samuel. He says, yeah, 2 Samuel 23, I think it is. Yeah, 23. And then he says, David says, yeah, right here, 21, he says, David, I'm going to start at 13. He says he cried, he died, right, in verse 4. I will call on the Lord who is worthy to be praised, so shall I be saved from my enemies. When the waves of death pass me, this day passed me, floods of ungodly men made me afraid. So he died, and those wicked spirits was there, those giants. So we know that all the righteous men, once they pass, they spirit of sin. That's the role of these 7 angels. They guiding the righteous souls back to where they came from. So David said when he passed, the spirit from these wicked giants was there, tried to prevent him from going. So then he says, in my distress, I called unto the Lord, cried to my God, and he did hear my voice out of his heaven, out of his temple, and my cry did enter in his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. Foundations of heaven moved and shook because of his wrath. There went up a smoke from his nostrils, fire from his mouth, devoured coals were kindled. He bowed the heavens also, came down, darkness was under his feet, and he rode upon a cherubim and did fly, and he was seen upon the wings of the wind, and he made darkness a pavilion round about him, dark waters and the thick clouds of the sky, and through the brightness before him were coals of fire kindled. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice, and he sent out arrows and scattered them, just these wicked spirits, lightning, and discomfited them. And the channels of the sea appeared. The foundations of the world were discovered at the rebuking of the Lord, the blast of his breath of his nostrils. Then this David, sent from above, took me, drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemies and from them that hated me, for they were too strong for me. They prevented me in the day of my calamity when he died. But the Lord was my son. Then here we go right here. He said he gonna endow. He gonna endow. Enoch said this. He gonna endow him. He gonna endow him with powers, right? So he brought me forth. Also, he gonna endow him with righteousness. He brought me forth also into the Lord's place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness and according to my cleanliness of my hands have he recompensed me. For I have kept the ways of the Lord and have not wickedly departed from my God. For all his judgments were before me. So David is the one who got to do all the judging. See that? All his judgments were before me. And as for his statutes, I did not depart from them.
Right.
I was upright before him. So there it is right there. That's what
Right.
Enoch.
I'm saying. So even before that, what you was reading, like that first that the go back to damn, I ain't got my book in front of me, so forgive me. Yeah, forgive me. It was the first the first two verses that you was reading right there. If you could uh
Let me go back
please,
and get it.
yeah, please. There was something that was written, there was something that was said that
I I will call upon the Lord who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be
nah.
saved.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I will call upon the Lord, therefore I will be saved. Like these are things that people, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it was the one I want was that um that he is given distinction between the Most High and the God of Israel. That when you have read that, damn,
So he bowed the heavens also and came down, darkness was upon his feet.
it was before that one. It was before that one.
Okay, so just in my distress, I call upon the Lord. I cried
I
to my
call
God,
upon him.
and
Right. And
he get my voice out of his temple, and my
you,
cry.
you see, you see what I'm saying?
Right,
Look at the separation that he was already putting people onto. He was
right,
given a separation. So he knew who his God honored.
right,
David was telling us something. And
right,
and this is why he is so, oh man, I don't even know how to, that's why I need more. So this is when like he was like, I'm saying that I'm telling you how this works. In these scriptures right here, he was showing how it works.
right.
You know what I'm saying? He was giving a
Yeah, you
understanding.
gonna read over this. You gonna read over this 1,000 years, just like our grandparents them did for all that time. They didn't. You know what I'm saying? They didn't see none of this.
Mm.
Read over it until the time came. Like he
Yeah,
said,
man.
another thing, prophesied that 70th generation.
70th generation.
Right.
What is that like to most people? What does that even mean? In that time, there'll be a 70th generation.
Right. Right. They
Like,
the one.
you know what I'm saying? Like, that right there is a head scratcher.
Right.
You know, for the majority of people that are trying to connect to what the time actually is at that specific time. So, I read this and I read it and I read it and I'm seeing like, yo, it's a interesting situation. So when whatever they're saying they're going to do, it's my job to pay attention and realize, yo, it ain't got nothing to do with me. So you want to talk about, the cell phones, and look, I don't care. What does that have to do with me? It ain't got nothing to do with us.
Right.
It ain't got nothing to do with us. That's them folks. It's always been them folks. It's always been them. So the moment you wanna be like, oh, I need to worry, then you them folk. You them
Right.
people. You understand what I'm saying? Like, come on now. I'm looking to get up out of here. So I'm watching them stress over. Yeah, I'm gonna watch them stress over that nonsense. That ain't got nothing to do with me, man. I don't know what a cell phone company is. I ain't got nothing to do with that. That really does not pertain unto my consciousness, my understanding of what we're doing,
Right.
and what God is telling us we need to be doing.
Right.
I ain't shut my phone off. Fuck that. I ain't got nothing to do with these folks, man. Let them shut their shit off, man. I operate on a different frequency from them in the first place. So I'm sorry, I'm in your captivity, true. But guess what? I don't bow down to you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't, what Nebuchadnezzar said, when you see the image, right? When
Right.
you see the image, what you supposed to do, Leonard?
Bow down when you hear the fluke and the clarinet and whatever that is, those other instruments. Bow down.
Bow down.
Right.
Nah, I'm Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego in this understanding. I ain't bowing down to that bullshit.
Right. That's
Hell
on.
nah.
Right. Yeah. So like I was saying, from the way I got to the point where I was at was uh, it was multitasking. Like I look back on it, it was stuff was given here, given there, given there, multitasking. So I looked at it from a perspective as uh, Rome back in the day. Rome was the shit, and actually was the ones that really started constructing highways, you know, through the woods and all that roads. And it says all roads lead to Rome. So everything I deal with is going to lead back to the, Tanak.
Thank you.
Whatever
Yes,
you're
sir.
it's gonna lead back to the line.
Thank you.
You know,
You
right.
know what I'm
saying? That's what I'm trying to do.
No, and that you can't go wrong if that's what you're doing.
Right.
You cannot go wrong if that's what you're doing.
Right.
You know, you can't. But you know, and so and now that was an interesting topic. This whole woke shit. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So people want to meld the two together. You can't.
Right.
You can't meld the two together like you brought out earlier, which was the slapping everybody face. You know, Isaiah 44, like what woke actually means. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like, but you cannot equate that shit to the most of our so-called brothers and sisters, you know, oh, that's that African. No, it ain't got shit to do with it. Like that whole woke understanding, y'all are so throwed. You're
Right.
so throwed
Right.
now. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't. It's not
Pan
something that you could easily say again, sir.
They tied the Pan Africanism and then the HBCUs and Boule. That's a whole nother woke.
Mm. Yeah. So that's the woke that they want us to be woke on, which is still
Exactly.
governed by Esau.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's still Esau's government. You know, is
Right.
that understanding? Esau's job is to you know, Esau's like, oh, you know, Jacob
Right.
usurped me. So therefore, guess what Esau's job is going to do? You know what I'm saying? Usurp the hell out of Jacob. You know,
Right.
so that's the understanding we're not getting is that we are being usurped on a level that we can never understand, especially when we just waking up to who we actually are. So, you know,
Right. It's like I was saying, I compete, when it comes up. I was saying how, now it's elementary, but somebody that just coming and listening to this type of conversation, they're not there. But it's elementary on Santa Claus. In the black neighborhoods, like you were saying, when Public Enemy and all them came with the what they were saying, the blackness, and so people started getting, they wanted to, if you was in a black neighborhood or in a black mall, they wanted a black Santa Claus. They want their kids to come to the mall, and they got a black Santa Claus. But go back to who he is. He's Thor or Woden from the north. It's a white man. He a white man. So that ain't shit. Black Santa Claus ain't nothing. When they concocted him, he's Woden from Europe. And then so I said that to say JC. He's a rapist. When they concocted him, the Greeks when they conquered Alexandria. When they came in and conquered the Egyptians, they told the Egyptians to make them a god, and they made the white god, which is Serapis. That's what Constantine brought to the Council of Nicaea when they changed his name to JC. So it ain't no Yahushua. It's the same shit you're doing with Santa Claus. Santa Claus is a fat white man, Woden, that from Europe, but we done made a black one. And the same thing with that.
Same Satan.
He's pagan. He's a pagan. That's a pagan image. And everything that's around him is pagan. So if you I don't care how you twist it all up, you off track. If you messing with him, you off track.
right.
Way off.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea. So, the beauty of it is they was like, all right, cool. You want to make this nigga black?
Right.
Go ahead, make him whatever you want him to make him. But guess what? The ideology of him it hasn't changed. So you want to say, oh, he's not a fat white man. You want to make him a fat black man. Okay, go ahead, make him a fat black man. But you're
Right.
still dealing with the ideology.
Right.
Yeah, you still lost.
And
Thank
then, yeah,
you.
and you got your keys, and everybody else sold off.
Right. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, no, they think they got the keys. You know what I'm saying? So now this is what we dealing with amongst our own folk. And when they
Right.
dealing with what's my man? JC Slim. So they still dealing with it. Oh, his name, and you know something I was watching. I don't know if it was TikTok or something or anything. And they was like, "Yo, this nigga named Jesus, right?" And
Right.
we was like, "All right, cool, cool." So if you hold up now, if you translate the name, check out how smooth this shit is. If you translate the name Jesus into English, it is Joshua, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
hold up. How the fuck does that make any, excuse my language? How does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. So I got people that I know and their name is Joshua.
Right.
I call him Josh. That's the English translation.
Right.
So where does the name Jesus actually come from then? So you can't tell me that Jesus' name is what we translate into
Oh
the
yeah.
name
Right. Yeah.
Joshua.
Yeah. That's what's crazy.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, Jesus is translated into Joshua. Well, shit, Joshua is an English translated name. So
Right.
how are y'all connecting that? It makes
Right.
absolutely no sense. So who is this dude named Jesus? Because we have the English translation. The name is Joshua, right?
Right.
So where does Jesus come from? Oh, wait a minute. Well, Jesus was the translation from the Greek of
Right.
Jesus.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
Oh, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's like,
That's true.
you know, it's an interesting thing that they give us, but yet, you know, our people praise Jesus. No,
Oh,
don't you mean praise Joshua?
right. And when that's something that's big in itself. But imagine Paul. Paul.
I ain't even
They
trying to go there.
didn't gave
Why you
Paul
gotta go there?
name. They gave Paul a European name. They gave him a
Right,
Greek, a Hebrew name. Shaul. Come on, man.
right, Shaul. Come
Come
on
on.
now. You know what I'm saying? Let me give y'all that to make y'all feel. Oh, that's
Over
what
here,
his name
over here.
was.
Yeah,
You
we've
know
been
what
over
I'm
here in
saying? Like,
captivity and all that. And
right.
Paul,
Oh,
Paul,
so
and all these
his
damn European names ain't shit got to do
right.
with no.
So you mean, oh, his name was Shaul.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, okay. His name was Shaul, and it had to be translated to
Right,
Paul for you folks.
right,
You know, it's like, dang.
right,
You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, you got me. All right, you got me there. You know, but now I continue on. Now what you gonna do? You
right,
know, and that's what we're dealing with today. So that's what I now if we take all of that understanding and now encompass that whole bullshit with the woke understanding.
right,
So
exactly.
cut it out. Cut that out. So that's how that whole woke thing. So now they infiltrated. So now for motherfuckers, I'm woke. Hold up. What you mean by you woke? What's this woke thing
Right,
you talking about? Oh, well, you woke. You different. We already on some other shit talking about non-binary,
oh yeah,
non-pronoun, non, but you
right,
woke. What you mean you woke to? You woke to the fact that now we are non-binary people out here in these streets.
oh yeah,
You woke to the fact that you can't be a specific gender anymore.
right,
You woke. You see how because they done infiltrated the understanding,
right,
and dubbed it. That's the beauty. They infiltrated and they dubbed it something.
right,
So now you can't use the word woke no more. You know what I'm saying? If you talking about what's real now, if you talking about you woke now, you got to be like, yo, I'm woke to the fact that I'm non-binary.
Oh yeah, right. That's to somebody that's like I was saying, or Pan Africanism, all that. That don't really have shit to do with us.
Nothing.
But
None of it does, man.
our plight from the time we left, from the time we was ran out of Israel by the Lord of hosts, way back in 143 BC, when we was ran out, to now, that had nothing to do with us. We absorbed all that to now. So, and the other side of it is Christianity. Pan Africanism or Christianity don't have shit to do with us. So like I was saying before, so when you say woke, you got to go to Isaiah 44, 1-5. You can come up with all kind of shit. You can't get me off of that.
You can't get me off of that.
Get them old regular ass niggas is gonna get them off of it. But you can't get me off of it.
You can't get us off of that. Thank you. Hello. All praises. All praises. What's Sister Michelle? All praises. Like, hello. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't get us off of that understanding. But yeah, they know this, but it ain't their job to get us off of it. I hope people listening. It ain't their job to get us
off of it.
Yeah,
they hurry up to get off of it.
Right.
When the boss gets sick, he's sick.
Hello. You see? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's our job is to pay attention to how this shit works. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. I don't stress the quote unquote proverbial Israelite. You see what I'm saying? I don't stress, you know what I'm saying, what they got to go through. I've seen plenty of them, according to scriptures, that got ate up by God opened up and swallowed their asses. So it's not my job to concern myself with the proverbial quote unquote woke ass people. You know, and that's something that I hope a lot of sisters and brothers, you know what I'm saying, realize dealing with characters, quote unquote, characters like us. You know what I'm saying? How we are moving and how we see things. You know what I'm saying? So all I can say is God bless all of them. You know, God bless those. You know what I'm saying? And I mean that with sincerity. But
yeah, it's all good. So yeah, it's got like I was saying, you got he was saying it all right there. Even with Enoch, with those first couple of verses, he said, and you got to go back and apply, like I said, apply to Christianity. He said that his kind forever. So it's the people that is ascended from him. He said that he wrote those books for. That ascended from him. We know everybody that ascended from him. So like I said before, take Christianity and stick it in there. See how you like that. And Christianity ain't got nothing to do with that. So the Christianity says that he brought the Gentile in. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Gentile ain't got nothing to do with the Gentile. He said right there, our wisdom is, he said, wisdom is reverberating off of me, and I'm giving it to you and your kind forever. Not the Gentile. So where the Gentile come in at? Crazy, man.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But look at what's usurped us. And they sound so smooth. It sounds so cool. It sounds so awesome because these niggas is woke.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? Water on the duck back. Right. It's smooth. It runs off so smooth, man. To the point where, I'm sorry. Ain't shit going on with Israel smooth. And it ain't never been.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They ain't never been smooth.
Right. And that's what it means. Israel means he who struggled with God. So they never been smooth.
Never been smooth.
Never been smooth. Oh, yeah. Ain't that something?
Yes,
And like
sir.
I said before, you look at all the men he dealt with. They was rough around the corner, rough around the collar, man. He wasn't dealing with no softies, man. David, like I said, David. Look at when you finally know the story of David. Those 33 mighty men, them giants, and they telling you, and they dangerous.
Right.
But
Think about that.
David controlling them.
Right. Think about that shit. In order
Every
for so
dude.
Leonard, I'm sorry. Think about that for a second. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the hardest shit for people to really put
Oh
in
yeah.
perspective. Like giants would look at men and be like, "Yo, I'm gonna eat your ass."
Oh yeah. Right.
But they had to deal with David, so there had to be a spirit on David to cause these
Right.
giants to be
Right.
like,
Right.
"Nah, we ain't finna test this nigga.
Right.
This little dude, nah,
Exactly.
we ain't finna mess with him like that. This something going on." You
Right.
know, certain respect level that was implemented based off of David's spirit in the first place. David want nothing nice.
Right. Exactly. Abraham. The 300,
Nothing nice.
the 300 men Abraham had with him was nothing.
Nothing right. So think about and that's what I'm saying. Like these men were nothing
Oh
nice.
yeah. Exactly.
They weren't nothing nice, man. You know what
No.
I'm saying? Wasn't nothing nice about them. Wasn't nothing sweet about them. Wasn't nothing cute. These were men,
Right.
you know. But in today's terminology, they're toxic.
Right. Yeah.
They're
I want
toxic.
I want to go back on that. Something you had said earlier before we got the line. Let it ferment. But when you look at the story, JC ain't nothing but uh, uh, all the stories from different our forefathers, from different situations with our forefathers. Like I said, go to the Book of Joshua. The star came in the sky and ran across the sky. The wise men and all that was when Abraham was born.
Mm-hmm.
So they took that story off of Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you ask the question when you trace the word Jesus back to Joshua, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What Joshua do in the Old Testament? Come on.
Not nice.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even to the point when it says that he gonna raise up one likened unto you. He talking to
Like
Moses.
right, a prophet.
Who he talking about? Who he talking about?
Joshua, a prophet.
There you go. There you go.
And he was not nice.
Right. You can take a baboon. You could have took a baboon and did that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Come up with those stories, bro.
Right. Let me call this new nigga Jesus.
Right.
You know
There
what I'm
it is.
saying? Jesus.
Right.
Why do I need a translation of his name? You know what I'm saying? It's Joshua. That's his name. So what do the quote unquote proverbial brothers out here in the streets call this nigga? Yahshua. Yahshua.
Right.
Yahshua. Yahshua. Joshua.
Right.
Joshua. That's what they
Right.
call him. You understand what I'm saying? So come on. You know, that's the
Look at
saddest
the
shit on the
Psalms.
planet.
Yeah.
Huh?
Look at the Psalms. Look at the Psalms. All the Psalms is David the Messiah. All the Psalms
Right.
is about they got you telling me David, he the Messiah talking about Jesus.
Hello. Come
The
on,
Psalms
man.
ain't got shit to do with him. Psalms,
It's
David
right.
was the Messiah. He the one wrote the Psalms.
Right.
Talking
As
about
ill as David was.
his relationship with the Lord of hosts.
As ill as he was, as nice as he was, all the shit that he done. I now this is what I have to do now. I have to just put all of that shit aside
Right.
and then look at this character named Jesus
Oh
who
yeah.
came for 2.5 to 3 fucking years when
Right.
David was ruling Israel
Right.
for 80 years of his life.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. So a
That's all
nigga,
I do. That's all
right, and I'm gonna say it how it needs to be said for a nigga that was running Israel. for 80 years with all of his so-called whatever. I'm supposed to now look at a cat who came on the scene and was on some cute shit for 3 years.
Right.
Come on now.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I you know, and people would be like, I'm disrespecting God.
Right.
That's the shit that bothers me the most, is that
Oh, yeah.
I'm disrespecting God
Right. And the
because I
thing,
got
go ahead.
no. You go ahead, sir.
The thing that always the thing that just baffles me on that one situation is, remember when David was always leaving, and I mean Moses always leaving to go talk to the Lord, and the
Yeah.
Israelites, they say, "Look, you always leaving and come back with all these stories about what he told you. We want to talk to him." Right? So he bought him. He bought him there, and then because of the way he talked, his voice, and all that, they got scared. Said, "Now send him back where he got it from. Let him talk to you, and then you talk to us, right?"
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why you see I keep going to Psalm 30, going to Ezekiel 37, because he's telling you, son, you gotta know how he talk, how he come off. So he said in Psalm 37, "I'm gonna raise up David." See what I'm saying? But they got you saying when you see that it's Jesus.
Right.
But he said in his nature, in his voice, "I'm gonna raise up David under you."
In his nature
And he gonna
and in
call
his
you keep my statutes in the last days. So
in his nature and his say it again, brother. In his
I keep
nature
getting
and his
the house
voice.
side of there.
Right. Ain't no what?
Come on, man.
It says, I'm raising up David.
David.
Right? And then he also what else in that in Ezekiel is it he also says, you shall have one shepherd, and it shall be David.
Exactly.
It's gonna be David.
Right. But you
like,
so indoctrinated that's bouncing off, like I said, that's bouncing off like water on a duck bag. You can't even see that.
You know, why? You were supposed to exclude David. You were supposed to exclude the Lord of hosts. That's number one. You know what I'm saying? And look to this God that I give you.
I gave you. You got to make him work. Got to make him fit.
Right. I gave you this God. I gave a God unto you. Once again, captivity, captivity, captivity. You know, it's like you got to remind them, like, I cannot drive a car right now without a what? A license.
Right.
That I had to get in this captivity. Captivity. So the God that I told you you're going to worship is going to be in your captivity. And I'm going to sit back and see how you observe it.
Right.
Like they don't read this shit. He told you this is what the fuck you was going to do. So for some strange reason, God's words ain't commandments anymore.
Exactly. They registered.
He told you what you was going to do. So if I'm looking around and there's a nigga named Jesus and he's my God and he's my savior and he's my everything, then I'm gonna have to question that understanding.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the shit that nobody wants to question about themselves. Because yo, this nigga Jesus, he an awesome dude. He's nice, he's smart, he's competent. He's the God I need to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, hold up. You know what I'm saying? Show me in your understanding of history, not religion, history.
Right.
What have these people been doing?
That's
You know?
all.
So I had that conversation with my pops a long time ago. The moment Akhenaten created a god, yeah, the whole Egyptian diaspora died out. He created a god. He created some dude named Aten.
Right.
And it threw off the Pharisees. Hello, y'all listen to what I'm saying. The Pharisees and the scribes of Egypt. The people that were what we call in our modern understanding, politicians, right? These were the Pharisees and scribes of Egypt's days, was the politicians who kept order and everything. This dude threw that whole understanding off.
Right.
When he created a god called the Aten,
Exactly.
and they was like, well, he's the Pharaoh, and they was like, yeah, we need to kill this nigga, i.e. Donald Trump. We need to get rid of him ASAP because he's completely destroying the institution we put in place to keep control over the masses.
Right.
You see? But
Right.
people ain't understanding what history is. You see what I'm saying? So pay attention to history. You know what I'm saying? So, a whole different topic is everybody be like, oh, this Agnon nigga was Noah and yada, yada, yada. No, he was not. So it was just a completely different dynasty, but it was an understanding that he came up. Was like, yo, I'm going to create a whole different God. I ain't trying to worship the old gods like y'all was worshiping. So guess what? Ptolemy came in and did the same exact thing, created Serapis.
Right.
Nah, you know what I'm saying? Serapis.
He got it from Akhenaten.
You're right. You know what I'm saying? So,
Then he was Nephilim. Akhenaten was Nephilim.
Big time. That's ill that you say that, Leonard, because he made himself look exactly what he was.
Right.
So all of his imageries that he gave the world was based off of Nephilim understanding. So, like, damn, yo, he was giving up, information that they was like, no, we don't want you to give this information. Well, so every image you see of him was something that did not look humane. It looked alien. It looked higher level. It looked
otherworldly.
Fallen angel.
Right.
Yeah, we got to behave ourselves right now. Let it talk this shit off.
Yeah, it's all good. We passed that 2-hour mark, man. Yeah. I'm trying to tell that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Everybody good? Everybody got
Shalom.
anything you want to before we go?
No, I just want to say it's all good word. It's all good knowledge to soak up and continue to study. And we always have to go back to come forward anyway. So it's a good thing. It was a great class. A lot of things, unrevealed, a lot of things that triggered, a lot of things that brought up, the zeal again, because you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And so once you start diving in deeper to these things, like you went all the way to Enoch and bringing us back, that was a good thing. I really enjoyed the class. I'm always enjoying it, but it was really good tonight.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have enjoyed the class also.
Okay. So, with that being said, nobody else nothing. I'll see y'all tomorrow for the women's line. Yeah, at 8 o'clock. The men can come in through YouTube. Shalom.
Shalom,
Shalom,
shalom.
shalom, fam.
Shalom, family.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Okay.